So welcome back to Be More Super, and as you can tell by the previous videos, this show currently is dedicated to this wonderful show, SKYMED, and we welcome back this wonderful guest that came on for the last season. It's Morgan Holmstrom. Morgan, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. Glad to be
Oh,
here.
and it's an absolute pleasure. And this show, can it get better? It certainly can. It's hard to get better because these seasons are just getting better and better and better. So, first of all, how exciting is it for you to actually go into another season of this incredible show?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, going into season three, we all have a very firm understanding of our world and our characters, and I think it just keeps getting better as time goes on. It's been a blast. It really has. It's so fun to work with all of my friends again and be in North Bay, Ontario. It's been great.
And when you got the news that you were getting a season three, was it a phone call or was it? I think Sydney mentioned that you've got a WhatsApp group. So how did it all go down? I mean, was it a phone call or an email or something on the WhatsApp group?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I feel like everyone finds out before we do. Like actors are the last ones to find out. It just seems like that's what happens because they're getting the schedule together, they're getting the writers' room together, and then actors are the last ones to hear. So we were kind of waiting on the edge of our seat, being like, is it going? Is it not? We're waiting for it to air on Paramount, and then we got the green light that we're getting season three. But it was an email that we got, and then we were all in the group chat being like, "Oh my God, yes!" So happy.
I mean, how does it work? I mean, with a show like this, are you sort of signed on for a certain amount of seasons? Because I always wonder that because as an actor, your job is doing work, so hanging on for the chance that it may not be renewed. I mean, are you signed on and committed to a certain amount of seasons?
Yeah, so you usually sign for a certain amount of seasons. Um, and during that time, they can use you for the time that they would go. So if we've gotten season two, season three, we're signed on for a certain amount of time. But everyone's contracts are different and it kind of depends on what is negotiated.
I mean, I suppose behind the scenes they have got one hell of a job. You mentioned the schedules, getting all you wonderful people back together so you can make this wonderful show. I mean, this show is tackled so many subjects over season one and season two. So when you received the script for season three, did you get the script for the whole season so you knew what your story arc was, or was it episode by episode?
No, we usually get two episodes kind of at a time. Well, not really. We'll get about one episode at a time. That was a lie. We get around one episode at a time, but we're shooting two episodes at a time. Um, so I only got the first episode originally, but I knew from the writer where Julie wanted to take it. So I had an understanding of where we were going, but I didn't know the full picture. I had no idea what was going to happen by episode nine.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's fun. That's the fun part about it. You're kind of on the edge of your seat when
I mean,
you're
it must be
filming.
so exciting because to receive that and get to find out what is in store for your character. I mean, we're not going to talk about the ins and outs of season three because I don't want to fall out with the wonderful team at SkyMed
Yeah.
because they send me lovely gifts. A hat, for instance, that's kept me very warm over this UK winter.
Oh,
But
good.
when you found out what was in store for you, what was your first sort of initial thoughts? I mean, how was you feeling when you read that first script?
Well, without giving too much away, I was originally very shocked by it because for Crystal, they had an initial plan And then the plan kind of got ex-nayed, and we had to go with a different plan for the season. So it was very shocking, and um, I knew that I was in for one for this season. Like,
I mean, SkyMed follows a great sort of way of it makes you laugh 1 second and then it makes you tear up the next, and that's what's so wonderful about this show because you don't expect what's going to happen next. And for people wondering about season 3, it is such a powerful experience, it really is. And I think that everyone involved is at their very best. The acting on screen is literally, there are shows out there that yeah, you watch and you think, this is a bit, you look at your phone. But SkyMed, I've got to say, this season, you are glued to the screen. Why do you think this show resonates so well with the fans? What is the secret sauce of SkyMed?
I mean, I feel like I might have said this on the last podcast that we did, but I feel like there's so many different characters within the show. And there's just so many different lives that you're following within the show that there's something for someone in there that they can relate to, or they can feel like they see themselves in, feel like they can understand to a certain extent within this world that a lot of people don't necessarily know. So I feel like having a character driven show like this where it's fun and it's exciting and you have big explosions, and I think that's why it does so well, is because it reaches a big audience in that way.
And this season, we see a few new faces, which is always nice, to get some more characters in the mix. What's that like being, 3 seasons in, being the veteran now, to accept two lovely new, actors into the mix? What was that like?
Oh, well, both of them are such great people and they're so talented. And I think everyone was just very excited for them to come on board and join the SkyMed family. Um, Nicola and Anthony are great actors, and I think they brought a great essence to their characters when we were filming and off screen too. I think we all get along amazing, and they're just stand-up people. So it's great that we can welcome new people onto the show, and as you do, and yeah.
And it keeps growing, which is great. I mean, what would you say is Crystal's sort of, how has she evolved over these seasons? Because we've seen her, deal with things, struggle, but then persevere and succeed. I mean, what's been the most rewarding thing so far for you as a performer to get out of Crystal? Because, the writing on this show is incredible.
Yeah, I think for Crystal, I was thinking about this the other days. We have been filming the show, and we were all quite young when we started, and we're still young people, but we've been filming it throughout our 20s and early 30s. So when you're playing these characters who are also in that same boat, and they're going through ups and downs in life, and they're kind of going through trials, tribulations, breakups, and makeups, as the show says, you're kind of living that off screen as well in your own personal life. And it's kind of, in a weird way, soothing to go through it with your character as you're going through it in life, and have great friendships along the way with everybody. But I feel like with Crystal, she's such a strong person, and she cares so deeply about her community, and she cares so deeply about her mission to become now a med student and continuing on with her journey within medicine. And it takes a very focused person to do that. So it's very fun to play that sort of strength within her, and also have a great friendship with Haley on the show too, because I feel like you saw it, you see it on Grey's Anatomy as well, like the two female friendships, they're best friends, and I feel like it's important to show that on screen as well, the strong female friendships that hold each other and hold space for each other within the show. And it's been the through line for all three seasons. It's not like they have their hard times and they butt heads sometimes, but they're still on the same path, that they're a team, you know.
Mhm.
And I want to feel that within my female friendships as well in life. So it's nice to see that on screen, and that Julie and all the writers have really continued that for the show.
And it's funny you mentioned Grey's Anatomy because I think Grey's Anatomy is one of the longest serving shows in history. I think the only other show is I think The Simpsons. It's had 20 seasons.
Yeah.
Would you like SkyMed to go 20 seasons? Can you imagine you as a qualified doctor 20 years down the line?
Yeah, never say never, you know?
You never know. I mean, the thing is, straight out the gate, these stories that we're getting each episode, I don't know what they're doing. I think they've got a pact with the devil or something, or something, because these stories are just amazing. They really, really are. And we've got a question from someone from X, which I keep calling Twitter. I don't know about you, but I keep calling it Twitter. But
Yeah.
Sandrine, and this is what I've been wondering as well. She's put, okay, I got one from Morgan. I'm assuming they don't film episodes in order. So how does she manage to keep track of the emotions that Crystal goes through? I mean, do you do them in order? And if you don't, how do you keep track of, those feelings and emotions? And what is your process in getting ready for going onto the screen?
That's a great question. I actually have a little book, and I write down little sentences of what's happening in each episode. And I'll reference it sometimes right before we're filming, or before I'm filming specific scenes, just to make sure that I'm on the right track, because it does get confusing. You are filming two episodes at a time. So we're not going super ahead. It's not, I know other shows where they're filming six at a time and they're going back and forth, and that gets very confusing. So at least ours is, we're doing two at a time, block by block. But I do have my little book, and I go through my little book, and I just make sure that I'm like, okay, this is what happened before this. I'm going to make sure that this plays in the next scene. And you also have the continuity that's keeping track of some of those things too, if you're really far off. Um, who's on your side, and the director too, if there's anything that is missed. But
Mm.
that's what I like to do for myself, just to make sure that I'm organized.
And you've had some powerful scenes throughout these seasons. And I asked Sydney the same question because, when you're on screen and you're giving such an awesome performance as you do, when they shout cut, what is your method for literally draining all that sort of emotion? Because literally, there's people that go to therapy for many, many years to try and deal with a lot of the emotions that we see you go through on screen. So, what is your method as an actor to sort of just release that all? Do you go on hikes? Do you meditate? What is the method?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's not one quick thing that I do afterwards. If it's a really draining day, usually I'm so exhausted that I just end up sleeping for a very long time, or as long as they'll let me, and go back the next day and do it again. And afterwards, after the filming process happens, so we're filming for however many months, and then afterwards I can kind of start to think about what's happened, and that, because it's such a whirlwind when you're filming, and you're waking up very early, and then you're filming the entire day, wake up, do it again, and it just repeats. You almost have no time
Mm.
really to process anything. But well, I have my doggy. She helps. She helps a
Oh,
lot. I brought her to set with me, and she comes to my trailer with me, and it's nice to kind of be with her at lunchtime and have a little emotional support from her. Um, but yeah, I mean, it depends on the days. Some days are very happy and fun, and then other days you have to do very emotional stuff. I mean, in season two, with with my cookum in the show, there was this one scene where I'm kind of crying on her shoulder in the hospital after her diagnosis. And when we were rehearsing, I started crying because it just felt so viscerally real.
mm.
And uh, it came out of nowhere. I just immediately started crying. I started thinking of my grandma, and I was like, okay, I need to reel it in. We're not filming yet. So sometimes things just come out of nowhere, and you have to kind of take either a moment for yourself or just go have a coffee, have a little pat on the back, get a hug, anything.
I suppose it can be quite easy to get lost in those emotions because, many actors do use personal situations to take from, to get into that head space, and you understand now why these character actors like Heath Ledger and actors like that may have had issues, delving so much into a character and living that character for so long. I mean, obviously, the cast and crew you've been with for the last 3 seasons. How has the bond been? How has the bond grown between the cast, yourself? Has anyone started to annoy you yet, or are you all still getting on like the house on fire?
No, we're all still getting along great.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, actually, this is like nothing about SkyMed, but I was speaking to Sydney last night, and I was shocked that she hasn't seen. So there was 2 films that she's never seen, right? And I'm really shocked. Have you seen The Lost Boys?
I have not seen The
No.
Lost Boys.
And have you seen The Goonies?
I have seen The Goonies, but that was a while ago that I watched The Goonies.
Wow. Do you know what? It's just amazes me because films like The Lost Boys, which are like an 80s icon vampire movie with Kiefer Sutherland, and it's just like literally one of the best movies ever. And it's surprising how many people that I've spoken to have said no, I haven't watched it, but yet it's one of these iconic movies. Anyway, back to SkyMed. So I just wanted to ask that because Sydney didn't even know what I was talking about.
No, but I feel
So
like that's such a th sometimes it's like there's so many 80s movies where I know that are iconic hits and I haven't seen them and everyone is like, "What is wrong with you, Morgan?" Like they're like, "Are you living under a rock? Why haven't you heard of it?" And I have no excuse really. Like you should be seeing it, but I watch some of the stupidest stuff sometimes and you know, it,
but you
I'm
should
like,
check out the Lost Boys. It's just an amazing film it's made by
okay,
Joel Schumacher, and it's got Jason Patrick in it, and it's such a
okay.
great movie to watch. It's funny, it's horror, it's brilliant. So with season 3 being out currently in Canada and soon to be on Paramount Plus, is there a certain episode that we should be looking out for that you feel is your proudest sort of achievement as a performer, something that I'm trying to not spoil it now, but is there a episode that you think, yeah, I really performed really well in that episode? I mean, you performed well in all of them, but you know is there one that we should be looking out for?
Let me think. I I feel like one of the episodes that stands out to me the most, I think, was in episode 8.
Which is yet to
That
come out, which is in
which is
Canada,
yet
which is
to come
this
out.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I believe it was episode 8. I don't think it was 9. Now it's getting mixed up in my brain, but I'm pretty sure it was episode 8. Um, and I can't spoil it, but I it was a really um good episode for me to kind of work my acting chops a little bit more and really give her. That's
I
all I
mean,
can really say
I
about
mean,
that.
no, that is fine. So, episode 8, we need to look out for because this show is just literally off the charts. When you compare it to the amount of content out there, it's just really nice to actually find a show that you enjoy episode in and episode out, which is fantastic. Is there any rumblings on a season 4? Do you think that we'll get an announcement, or do you feel that we'd have to wait till it comes out on Paramount Plus and then we'll find out?
Yeah. Once it comes out on Paramount Plus, then, we'll probably, hopefully, hear something and hear the word. But right now, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
And have you got a favorite moment off screen or on screen that you can talk about? Any funny moment that happened, any memories from your shooting the season that you can share that might, I don't know, you can dish the dirt on the other cast. It's fine. I'm speaking to Praneet and Keon in a couple of days. So you can dish the dirt if you want. But yeah, any memories from filming that's really stuck with you?
I'm trying to think of memories where I can't, where that wouldn't give away anything, like, because everything just gives away something. Um, but there was one day where it was really fun with Natasha, and there was a lot of mud involved on that day. I think I can say that. Um,
Yes.
and it it was a lot of fun. I felt like a kid. Um, both of us were just laughing with each other. We're like, we feel like toddlers right now, just out in the
I've got to say
wilderness. And
that episode is really well made. I want to find out how they achieved it and did it because it looked really really good. And yeah, I suppose it's good to have fun on. I suppose when you're performing in certain episodes, and certain episodes can be very very heavy on you as a performer, it must be quite nice then to do something that is a bit of fun that you can relax a bit and have a bit of fun with instead of having to really dial in and yeah, use all your energy, which is really nice to see.
yeah, yeah, it's nice to have like your little breaks of fun and and laughter in this season.
It's a really really good episode. And then funnily enough, the other day, it was last week, I was on a plane and I downloaded a movie to watch on this plane because I thought this looks really really good. And the movie I'm talking about, I'll bring the poster up. There you go, The Order, which is currently on Amazon Prime, and everyone needs to watch this film. It's absolutely amazing. The cast is just stunning. It's literally a who's who and of the best, and sandwiched between all that cast is you, because I was watching it and then all of a sudden I saw you on screen and I was like, I know that person. And it's just incredible. I mean, what was it like acting opposite, Ty Sheridan and Jude Law, one of our greatest exports from the UK? I mean, what was that like, and how different was that experience compared to, say, SkyMed?
Well, I mean, both of them are such class acts. I had such an amazing, I was there for a very short amount of time, and they were so kind, so gracious to me. And it was a very, it was completely different in the sense that for the film, it was. we had our script, but it was mainly improvised.
Wow.
A lot of the film was improvised. Um, and that was very fun to improvise with Jude Law and Ty Sheridan. Um, and the director is absolutely phenomenal. And I actually auditioned for this film while I was filming SkyMed during season two. So it was just a very fun experience. We filmed in Calgary, and it it all their explosions were, they did the real cool explosions. Like those were the real stuff they used to do, not with all the crazy CGI. They were doing like
Mhm.
real good stunts on the film. So
I mean, it really
it's kudos to them.
shocked me to find out this was based on a real story. That this was
Yeah.
based on real events, and it's shocking to think that these things happened. But I mean, obviously, it's people like Jude Law that are seasoned, actors. I mean, what was he like off camera? I mean, did you try and get any advice? Did you, try and spend as much time with them as possible?
I mean, when we're working like this, I try and kind of give people their space, and I want to make sure that when I'm coming to set, I'm coming there to work and to do a job, and um, to make sure that although it is Jude Law, the Jude Law, that I give him the space that he needs for whatever he's doing. So there was moments where we were together in the tent and we were just talking about life and whatnot, and it we just did our work afterwards. He was super nice off camera. Like he's a great guy.
Mhm.
Um and was lovely to work with. So
I mean, I actually met him many years ago. The funny story, I used to be a manager of a company called Build a Beer Workshop, where you go and build
no way,
beers.
Build-A-Bear?
And yeah, I was a manager, a chief workshop manager, they used to call it. And they used to use words like, oh, it's pawsome and beerific, and it did great a bit on you after time. But I was working in Covent Garden in London at the time, managing the store there, and we had a phone
Mhm.
call saying that someone wanted to come. Is there any chance that we can close the shop because of privacy? And I phoned my area manager, and she said no. But then I said, look, we need to, if it's about, safeguarding and stuff like that. And then we closed it for an hour and walked through the door, Jude Law and his kids. And literally, while the kids were getting their beers, he was just stood there chatting to me for about 30 minutes. And it was just as normal as the next person, which I think is really nice because, we see these actors and we think, that they're sort of, not real, but they're just people. And they've just got a different responsibility and a different job that is obviously more glamorous than being a manager at Build a Bear Workshop. I mean, what was it like
Yeah.
working on this film? Because it's a period film, so everything
Mhm.
around you was sort of to a certain period. So how strict were they in case someone had like a certain watch? Or a Starbucks cup in the background, because everything was set for that. Was it the 70s, the late 70s, or
The
I think
80s.
the 80s. So how strict was it on set to make sure that nothing was around that wasn't from that period?
They still had their continuity and everything, and we were working with the stylist for the show, and they had when I came in for the fitting, they had all of their images all over the walls for the 80s. Like they had all of their inspiration images for everyone's outfits, and it took up all of the walls. I just remember seeing that and thinking, "Ooh, this is cool." Um, and I mean, the set deck and everything was beautiful. So when we were coming into set, we weren't really thinking about it. We were just kind of stepping into the world, and it didn't feel like it was something that we necessarily had to keep at the forefront of our brains. So it was a really cool experience to be kind of living in that world. And even the director, I mean, he was thinking about it now, like he wasn't really, some directors work with their iPads or make notes off of iPads and stuff. He hand copied his script and binded it into a book, the actual script, and was making live notes while we were working and like collaborating with us and what we should do for our characters and where we could take it. And he was like handwriting everything with his pencil and like coming up with his
Wow.
ideas and like going off screen. It was really a great experience, and it felt very collaborative, and it felt like the ideas that you're bringing as an actor, and sometimes as, you know, someone who's only coming in for such a short amount of time, it can feel like a little bit nerve-wracking because everyone has been there for a bit and you want to make sure you're playing to the same level and extent that everyone else is, but there wasn't an idea that was shut down. Everyone was working so well together, and it was a great set to work on to or work on.
I mean, with The Order being number one on Amazon Prime in the UK, and then SkyMed going on to Paramount Plus, as it has done the last two seasons, do you ever feel it's surreal that so many people have seen your face and see your performances around the world? Because this is millions upon millions of homes that are streaming this show, watching this movie, and watching you. Do you ever find that a bit weird? Because it's sort of strange that everyone knows your face.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit weird. I mean, it's not a normal job, and you kind of understand that when you get into it, that that's something that can happen. But it's been really fun so far, and having people message me and be like, "I watched you," on like even friends of mine who I haven't or talked to in a while or something, and they saw The Order, and they're like, "Oh my God, we saw you on The Order. That's so cool. Congrats!" And um, it's it's a good feeling that people are watching the thing that you're passionate doing.
And then, you know, going back to SkyMed again, you know, with this next season, you know, why should people go and watch it? Why should and for people under the rocks that may have not have discovered this show yet, why should they go and watch SkyMed? I mean, I could harp on about it for hours, but from one of the stars, why should people go and press that button and start watching this show?
It is such a good medical show. And it's a character-driven medical show, and it has so much fun. We have so much fun making it, and I feel like you can see it on screen, because it's a fun show. It has all the excitement and all the drama that you would want to see within it. Um, and this season for sure has a lot of twists and turns, and excitement going on. So I
I
think
mean,
if anything, you should definitely watch it
I
for
mean,
that
without
reason.
spoiling anything, I got excited with episode one. I sat down and I got my nibbles, and literally my jaw didn't close for the entire episode. I was like, "What?" So they definitely came out the gate running, and it's a great show. But Morgan, thank you so much for coming onto the show again. Let's fingers crossed and manifest a season four, and let's get this show on the same path as Grey's Anatomy. Let's get 20 seasons out of Julie and the team. So fingers crossed. But Morgan, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm coughing, for coming back onto the
Okay.
show.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. It was great seeing you.